Hey guys, it's me, Mr. T50, and welcome back to Tokyo Chronos. A couple things, so it's been a little while. I've actually been moving recently, and, in the process of it, and so the big VR room where I don't really have a whole lot of stuff in is where everything's been stored, so it's been a little hard to record a VR game lately, but I did clear out some space today, and, should be able to do this fine. That's part one. Part two is I accidentally recorded about 15 minutes of this, realized I forgot to hit start record, so we're going to start over. That's one of the problems of not being able to see your computer screen while you're playing. And back to the performance issue where it just kind of seems like it gets slower over time. I'm not sure what it is. It seems like a memory leak of some sort. The way I'm going to try to fix that today is once we get to about 30 minutes in, which will actually be closer to 45, since I just recorded about 10 minutes, I'm going to close the game, restart it, restart recording, and see if that seems to solve the problem. Hopefully it does, which is not my ideal, but it's a way to fix that problem if we just restart it every half hour, and it'll work okay for a Let's Play environment anyway. So with all that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get started. We left off, I think, in a flashback, if I'm not mistaken here. It's a flashback where we were talking to Nikaido, and then we had a flashback. So there was a symposium where Togoku's father was invited to speak. It usually took me no time at all before I fell asleep in the school's monthly symposiums. But this one was so captivating that I ended up bending forward just to concentrate on his talk. Along with respect for Togoku's father, I was reminded of that sense of awe I had towards Yuria Togoku herself. It'd been a while since we last spoke, but I certainly felt very proud to know her. After the symposium ends, we all began to return to our classrooms. As I'm walking down a certain hall, there stands Togoku's father. Once he sees me, so he asks. I leave the line walking towards the classrooms and step aside with Togoku's father. What does he want? Did I do something wrong? Did I tell them about how I lost both of my parents? But that was already years ago. I'm not really sure what he's going on about. Excuse any background noise, by the way. I think someone's doing some yard work outside. I will try to mute it between anything I say if I can. That's a surprise. He didn't show up at all during the broadcast when he was called, so I thought he went to her sister's instead. I do find it kind of interesting that while they're using, these silhouettes as a pretty easy background, so they don't have to draw Yuri's father here, that they still put my player character right here, and he's like still doing animations, you know, while talking, even though there's also a like a silhouette of him up there also talking.
昔からずっと迷っているんだ。ユリアを学問の道に引きずり込んでいいものかとね。この世界は厳しいんだ。孤独で、静かで、残酷だ。耐えられるものはそう多くはない。
Togoku's father's words had weight to them. I'm sure he had to overcome all sorts of unimaginable hardships to get to where he is, at the top of the world of physics.
次女のジュリーのようなタイプはいいんだ。ジュリーは生まれついての物理の虜でね。世界に自分一人取り残されても構わず研究を続けるだろう。だが、ユリアは違う。あの子の幸せはきっと。
All of a sudden, Togoku's dad bows deeply.
ユリアのことを頼む。
ちょっとやめてくださいよ。
君にしか頼めないんだ。
頼むって何ですか？
また仲良くしてやってくれないか？
仲良くですか？
あの子は強そうに見えるけど、その実寂しがり屋なんだ。
そうなんですか？むしろ孤独を望んでいるような気さえしてましたが。
そうであろうと自分に言い聞かせているだけだよ。私はユリアの望むものを与えてあげられなかったからね。求めても手に入らなかったから意固地になっているんだろう。私ではダメなんだ。視野が狭すぎてどうすればユリアを幸せにできるのかまるでわからない。
He bows his head once more.
どうかあの子に居場所を与えてやってくれないか。君たちがそばにいてくれればきっとユリアは自分の本当の望みに気づくはず。お願いだ。君たちだけが頼りなんだ。
なんでこんな大事なことを忘れてたんだろう。
Yeah, and this is what we were doing last, was talking to Nikaido about something. We were out here at night. I explained what I just remembered to Nikaido.
そんなことがあったのね。
東国のお父さんが言っていた。僕にとっての大変なことっていうのはよく思い出せないんだけどね。二階堂は何か覚えている？
いいえ、何も。
そうだよな。まあとにかく今は思い出したことをすぐに東国に伝えてくる。本当にありがとう、二階堂。
I leave Nikaido behind and run. Alright, now at this point, we're in the hotel, by the way, in front of Togoku's room. At this point, one thing that I did mention was I haven't really felt that this game has benefited from VR yet. I've said that a few times. It's not really shown me anything that couldn't have really been done with a traditional visual novel yet, for the most part. And there are definitely some problems. I'm not saying it couldn't ever work. You know, if they made a little bit more use of the fact that I am in VR, then, you know, it would definitely benefit it, and maybe they will later, I don't know. The two main problems that I see with a visual novel in VR, just in general, is that, one, reading text in VR is a little bit more difficult. On a screen, you can get it in pretty good clarity. On a VR headset, they do have newer ones, I should say. The Valve Index is apparently pretty good resolution. I think the Oculus Quest is pretty good, or the Oculus Quest 2 or something has pretty good resolution. I have the original HTC Vive, which is decent, but when I look at this text, it's just a little bit blurry. Not blurry so much, but the resolution is a little low. It's not bad, and if I look straight at the text, I can read it pretty well, but if I look at it a little, like, at the very edge of my vision down at the bottom, It gets pretty blurry and difficult to see. That is inherently a little bit of problem with a visual novel where you're basically reading text the entire time. When I played through Half-Life Alyx, they don't really make you read text in that game for the most part. There is some text, but generally speaking, it's not... They make it pretty big for the most part, and they don't make you read a lot of it, so it's not bad. I think that sort of game would work a little bit better in VR if you had a game with visual novel elements, but it wasn't entirely visual novel, and it was in VR. That could work well. And maybe a better headset would fix it too, but I'm not paying $1,000 to play a VR visual novel that is, frankly, not bad, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily great. I think that's mostly what I mentioned before, but just some stuff to think about, and also the weird problem with the performance isn't helping either. Anyway, we are now at approximately 15 minutes in, so I'm going to play another 15 minutes, then we're going to restart and see if that seems to help this performance issue that crops up at about the 45-minute to 1 hour mark. Taking a deep breath, I knock on the door. If Togoku's staying up late pondering physics stuff again, she should still be awake.
なんだいこんな時間に。桜井くんにしては非常識な行動だね。
どうしても話したいことがあって。
犯人探しをやめてほしいっていう話なら無駄だよ。僕は急いでいる。もう待てない。
それはそうなんだけど、違うんだ。まずは僕が思い出した君のお父さんとの話について説明させてほしい。
僕の父の話？
I slowly, carefully explained what I remembered of her father and I earlier. How he pushed her aside, thinking it would be for her own good. How he was there during the ceremony. How he had another stuffed toy ready to give her as a gift.
東国は大切にされていたんだよ。ちょっとした行き違いで互いの思いが届いていなかっただけなんだ。お父さんは東国のことを大切に思っているよ。
何それ？父が、父さんが僕を思ってる？
This is where I realized that I didn't start the recording, so all of this from here on will be new for me.
ああ、お父さんの中にはいつだって変わらず東国の居場所がある。ちょっといなくなったくらいで失望されることはない。だから焦ってここを出て行こうとする必要なんてないんだ。お父さんは東国が僕らの中にこそ居場所を見つけることを望んでいた。僕らだってそれを望んでいるよ。だから昔みたいに8人で力を合わせよう。そうすれば脱出の方法なんてすぐ見つかるはずだ。犯人を探して仲違いするよりもそっちの方がよっぽど素敵だと思わないか？
I pour my heart out, trying to appeal to her. Your father cares for you. We care for you. So don't say there's no place where you belong.
出て行って。今の僕は混乱してしまっているみたいだ。合理的な判断ができる気がしない。
でも
出て行ってくれ。
Oh, Togoku's upset now.
わかった。こんな夜中に突然本当にごめん。
Well, that didn't go well. Faced with Togoku's anger, I leave her room in haste. I pray dearly that this can cause her to reconsider her course of action. Has Togoku actually decided to change plans? I wasn't able to sleep all night with the thought constantly running around my head. I head to the scramble in a daze and speak to Kajima. Kajima?
眠そうだね。
Sorry, just trying to get an idea of how much performance issues I'm facing. I'm starting to see them a little bit. But, we'll give it another like 10 minutes, I think. Yeah, another about 10 minutes or so, and then I will restart the game.
少しね。こんな世界だ。町工事やユウみたいに元気にいられるわけじゃない。
東国さん、遅いね。
ああ、まだ寝ているのかな。
She seemed pretty flustered last night. Maybe she wasn't able to sleep until late. It's about 8:15 now. Everyone but Togoku is already here. Our investigations will likely continue once she arrives. You know, one thing, actually, I did think about with that comment earlier about reading the text. If I was if this was in my native language or I was a native Japanese speaker, I wouldn't have to quite focus so much on the text. Because if I heard what they said, I wouldn't necessarily need to read that. I just have to read my own character's internal thoughts. Everything else would be spoken, and I'd, presumably be able to understand it. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad in a native language. Just an idea. The investigation that Togoku and I were doing is already finished. She came to the conclusion that we won't be able to escape until we find the culprit. She's probably going to tell that to everyone here. I have no more intentions to go against her. If our talk yesterday didn't manage to change your mind, then there's nothing else I can do. As we're waiting for her to arrive, I'm a little relieved inside that she hasn't come yet. Watching everyone chat it up, part of me has just given up, hoping that this lasts forever. Without realizing that I'd made a terrible, terrible mistake. Ever since, Togoku has never shown up again. Oh no, she's dead. Yeah, sure, let's save. So these seem to be about 2 to maybe, 3 hour long segments in terms of how long it takes me to play them. Unfortunately, while I would love to, I would do that in other visual novels, I would play it for 2 hours. I do that in Higurashi, for example. VR visual novels with the low resolution of the text, like I said, it gets a little hard to read. It's definitely a little harder to do, and I don't remember having quite the same problem when I played Half-Life Alyx. I don't think I got headaches, and not even headaches really, but just, uncomfortableness from reading text for so long in VR, like I did in Half-Life Alyx, where I didn't really get, I could do 2 hours. And I think it is the text thing and that performance problem. So I'm hoping if I restart the game, it'll fix that part of the problem. Let's see, we'll save right there.
Togoku! Togoku! どこにいるんだ?
You know what? I'll take it right there. I'll take that as my point to restart the game. So give me just a moment. I'll edit the video together, but I'm going to restart it and see if that seems to help. Because I am starting to see just a little bit of the performance problems. And if I open up the performance menu, I can see I'm still getting decent frame rates, but it's starting to get worse. I can see down there. So we will be right back.